Kia ora and welcome into the Full 90 podcast with Nick Hydey and Jacob Spoonley. We do not have Mark paired this week as he's decided he's got to go off and play some sort of game against 10-year-old Japanese kids, and he's just buggered off with the conversational hand grenade around haircuts. So the man that does not like long hair and is currently wearing a Sheffield Wednesday shirt is Nick Hydey. Hydey, what's good? How are you going this week?
I think what's good has been the three recent signings of young Kiwis in Europe. Been fantastic.
They are, for those that aren't fully aware.
We just had Marco, you're going to have to help me out with his last name.
Stamanic.
Yep, Stamanic was playing at Team Wellington and just signed at FC Copenhagen, and that's a big move, so that was fantastic.
That was a nice easy one for you, wasn't it? FC Copenhagen, you're staying well clear of the Swedish clubs. So That's 1 out of 3. Who's number 2?
Our favourite chicken brand, Nando, headed off to
Rio Ave.
Yeah, in Portugal. So that's top division. So again, that's good. Now, was Tyler Boyd at Rio Ave for a while as well?
No, it was the kid from Team Wellington. I think he's a Wellington Academy product.
Marty.
I can't remember his name. Roofs, you can jump in here. We haven't introduced you yet, but you definitely know who it is.
I think let's introduce Roofs with his 70 A-League appearances and 7 All Whites caps.
We'll do that in a second. Who's the kid?
Okay, we'll come back to that. Yep.
Who's the kid?
Who?
Who's the guy that was at Rio Ave? The young.
Nando Pinica.
No. The other one. There was another one. Came back to Team Wellington this year.
Came back to Team Wellington. Oh, the striker you're talking about?
Yeah, maybe. He's attacking midfielder, I reckon. Anyway, we'll come back to that. We'll let you ever think on that. We'll introduce you in a second. But Hydey, who's 3 out of 3?
I don't know. I've just lost my chain of thought, to be perfectly honest.
All right. Well, let's get cracking with the podcast. So apart from the young Kiwis, this podcast will be focusing in on what has been the longest season in memory. It started on the 30th of October in 2019, and it's finished last weekend on the 30th of August 2020. That, of course, is the A-League. And we have a special interest in the team that's nearest and dearest to our hearts. We love all the Kiwis that are playing across the A-League, but the Wellington Phoenix are front and centre for us. So we thought, who better to talk us through the Wellington Phoenix's contribution to the world's longest season than the man who has amassed 1,000 minutes across the season, featured in 20 games, assisted with as many goals as he had yellow cards, and the answer to that height is 2. He hails from Palmerston North, which is an overlap in our Venn diagram, and he is the Wellington Phoenix vice captain. So welcome into the podcast, the Full 90, Alex Rufer. Alex, how you going, mate?
Good, thanks, Spoons. Thanks for the amazing introduction.
Hey, mate, it goes with your hair. I've got to say, I was hoping that Mark was recording it. He wasn't. I'm a massive fan of the hair, mate, so don't get it twisted. I know you're a little bit apprehensive about that. It's the man in the Sheffield Wednesday shirt that's got all the criticism.
No, it's not. I wasn't. I've never actually criticised Rufus here. In fact, I actually did on the research on this pod. I actually caught up with a young Rufer in about 2018 or 19, and he didn't have the long hair. So how long has that growth been going for, Alex? Is that about a year, 18 months growth?
Yeah. So it was early this season. There, I went to get a haircut and got a little trim, and then obviously
at Louis Fenton's place, or where do you go?
Yeah, I go to Louis' place.
That's good for team morale, mate. You can't deny that would be bad news.
Yeah. And then ever since obviously COVID hit, I just decided to, just keep growing it and just see where it goes. And here we are.
Cool. Mate, big fan. Big fan. So first of all, before we get into any of the questions of the season itself, I know Hydey's going to share in this with me, so Hydey, jump in after I'm done. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for all the sacrifices that you guys had made. And in particular yourself, you're part of that senior leadership group, but you guys have basically run through the wall without even kicking a ball, or for us considering you guys kicking a ball, traveled to Australia to finish the season, tried to impress the case to make it the best ever Phoenix season by finishing second. Unfortunately, you didn't make second, but you made third, so you still achieved that goal. So for me, just a massive amount of respect in that regard, mate. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
So how many quarantines is it that you've actually been in this season?
I think this is our 4th quarantine so far.
And do you have a favourite? I mean, are you on Groundhog Day? Is there a way of dealing with this, or is this just terrible?
It definitely tests your mental strength, that's for sure. But this one, to be honest, is probably my favourite, just because now it's been so long. We've been so obviously we've been away from home for so long, and now we're getting close to when we can get out of here. So
How many days you got left, Alex?
6 days. 6 days left.
6 days left. Wow. And so for those that are listening, where actually are you at the moment?
In Wellington, just at a hotel on the terrace, and we've been there since the 25th. And
so life is going on all around you. You are literally, you can reach out and touch stuff, but you can't. You're prohibited from doing that, mate. That is.
We're in a bit of a student sort of suburb. I can hear a few parties and stuff. And Saturday night I struggled to sleep, so that was quite interesting.
Did the minibar get raided? Did it, Reese?
So what's the first thing you're looking to do when you get out? Is there a food you want to eat? You want to go fishing? What's the one thing
you want to use?
To be honest, just see my family. Obviously, it's been a long time, so yeah, just to catch up with family and friends, and yeah, on the fishing front. Hopefully, fishing will come soon after.
Go outside, get some sun, and be able to stretch the legs in a place that isn't a car park. So walk us through the daily routine, mate, because everyone's heard about it. It's become quite political where people are actually asking that returnees pay for their quarantine, which I think is a load of bullshit, having heard some of the experiences that you guys are going through. Can you give us the actual facts on what it's like once you get up and start going about your day?
So we see a doctor every morning, like a doctor and or a nurse come to your room every morning, knock on the door between 8 or 9 o'clock. They obviously just check your well-being, and that usually obviously all goes to plan. And then come about around 10 o'clock, we're allowed out for like a walk and stretch as such, like for 40 minutes. And then at 2 o'clock, I guess, again, it's just the same sort of thing, but for an hour. So some of us have just been, doing some runs around the car park and doing some little workouts. The car, it's a small sort of, it's 2 stories, which gives us obviously a little bit more space, so we can actually do a little bit of like physical activity. So that's kind of cool. But obviously social distancing applies, so we have to keep 2 meters or a meter away from everyone, and always wear a mask. So it's been quite tough having to run around the car park with a mask on.
And do you find a skipping rope's really good for establishing your 2 meter boundary?
And yes, the skipping rope is good for that, as you said. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take us back out of COVID land and head back into the season. Now, the Phoenix, obviously disappointing to finish without progressing any further in the finals, but you must look back on a season where you finished 3rd in the league, the highest place the Phoenix have ever finished. It's actually the 2nd year in a row that the Phoenix have made the top 6. So I'm hoping next year that finally the Aussies don't ask us, are we getting the wooden spoon? Because quite clearly we're a playoff side.
Yeah.
And, I got to look at it and think, without COVID and you finish 3rd, you're playing a home final against Perth. I think you win that game with them traveling that far if everything is normal. Were you stoked with the season? I mean, I know you're disappointed that you wouldn't go further in the finals, but you must be stoked with the way the team came on board, the style you played. What was the feelings for the season?
Yeah, look, as you said, I think as a team we're very happy and very proud of how we've done it. Obviously, with all the obstacles thrown our way as well, I think we've handled it very well. But overall throughout the season, I think we've been good, and we started average. We were playing well, we weren't getting results, and we stuck to it. We didn't drop our heads, and we knew we'd come right. And we went on that unbeaten run, and we made it to the finals. Obviously, to end how we did, as you said, was a bit disappointing. But look, I mean, just really proud to be a part of the team, and as I said, I think we did very well, and I'm looking forward to what we can do next season.
So speaking of that start, I mean, it was we had a podcast right at the beginning, and Jacob and I disagreed greatly, and he actually picked you guys to make the top 6, and I kind of went, we're not going to win a game in the first 5, which actually panned out that way. But something was going on though, because you could see in the games. I know the first 5 games the results weren't great, but you could see the style was changed. There'd been a lot of change at the club with the coach, and a whole bunch of players came in. And I think you're even on the record saying, we got De Villiers coming. He's a quality player. Something's going to happen here, and then it just clicked, and it was awesome. And I think I got sent. Ben Wayne sent me a nice video about I'm going to training to prove Hydey wrong, which was great. And I'm really pleased to have been proved wrong. It's been such an awesome season. How good is it now going into the next season? I know it's a little bit uncertain with where that's going to be based, but the coach is in place. Most of the players are in place. This is a different Phoenix going forward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's as you said, we've got a lot of players around for next season, which obviously is very good. We've all gelled together. We know each other's style of play. We know each other very well. And as you said, we've got the coach staying around, which is a massive bonus. So yeah, look, it's shaping up to be very exciting. Obviously, touch wood that everything goes well, and hopefully a border is opened up between Australia and New Zealand, and we can maybe play some home games and hopefully put some bums on seats at Westpac. But yeah, look, as I said, look, just really, really excited to see what happens now next season. And yeah, I just can't wait to get back into it.
And returning to that start, mate. So if you look through it, there were definite bumps in the road. So Western United lost to start off the season with 1-0 at Sky Sport, was Westpac at that point. And then we've got Sydney, Perth, both 2-1 losses. And then we've got that wonderful game where you guys lost 3-2 to Melbourne City, which the highlight of that was not the result, but it was Louis Fenton absolutely losing the plot at the end of the game, dropping an F-bomb, which for me is still up there with any goal that you guys scored this year. And then a 1-1 result against Melbourne Victory, who it turned out weren't a fantastic team this year. So that amounted to no win in 5 and 1 point from a possible 15. Hydey said there was that feeling of what's going to happen. There was uncertainty, everyone from the outside looking in. They did have question marks, I suppose. I was a bit more optimistic because I could see things that I liked. I mean, I didn't know that it was going to turn around the way it did. But looking inside the group, was it different compared to previous seasons? And noting that you've been at the Phoenix now for 8 years, so you're a pretty good call on this. Looking at the players that you had some really established professionals there. They were assured and seasoned pros in the likes of Ball, Hooper, Steinman, Davila, and then you've got some Aussies that came in, Devlin and Piscopo. Did it feel different?
Yeah, that's a good question. I still think it didn't feel different. I mean, I think we definitely had a strong team morale, but we have had that obviously in previous seasons too. I think the biggest difference for me was the style of play. That was a massive difference, and you know the whole club and the whole playing staff and the coaching staff buying into that. What Ofi brought in. I think because we always had that style of play to go towards and go back to. I think although as you said we weren't getting results, we were playing well. We knew it would work. But also as well, last season we had a decent season as well. We were in the top 6 and we fell short on the finals. I think having that experience too of, you know, also some bumps in that season too. We started off okay and then we lost about three or four games on the bounce. I think just having that experience of going through that kind of the ups and downs of that season too helped us. And with the boys that were still around, I think that kind of helped us and kept us level-headed. And yeah, we all believed as a group. And I know as you said, we copped a lot of criticism along the way, but that didn't faze us. And yeah, we got on with it, and you know we had a good season. So yeah.
You mentioned the culture within the group there. I've been a big believer that Stephen Taylor has probably played a very large role as a captain. Can you maybe provide a little bit of insight? I believe that you might have spent some time flatting with him. I haven't seen any pictures of you out in this jet ski with him as such, but you know, I think when Durante left, there was this big, oh no, we've lost a really good leader. I know you've been had some plaudits about your captaincy going forward, and certainly that must be a real honour. But having someone as experienced as Stephen Taylor in these situations, how much of an influence was he in the changing room and just that drive of it as a Wellington Phoenix culture?
Massive. As you know, obviously everyone knows Stevie and the career he's had, so he's second to none. When it comes to leadership and his quality, I think especially for a lot of us being young, and we have a lot of young players looking up to someone like him who's done it for many years. Helps massively. And as you said, he's not only he's serious, he can be serious, and he can kick us up the bum when we need it. Top professional. So look, he's also got a bit of a humorous side as we all know. So he's got a bit of banter around as well. So no, look, I think he's been brilliant, and he'll be brilliant until he leaves. So he's been a massive player for the club, and yeah, good on him.
And also with that culture, there's quite a few young Kiwis in the team. I know, you've been around for a while, the Phoenix, but you're not an old player as such. How good has it been having a good core of young Kiwis who have been able to say that they're almost the heart of the team going forward as well?
Oh, I love it. I've been there, as you said, for many years, and there's always been Kiwis, but I feel like now, as you said, there's a lot of Kiwis that are playing more frequently, and as you said, we've got like the Kiwis right through the center of the spine. It's like the spine now in the team. So, yeah, it's really awesome, and hopefully many more Kiwis come. As you said, we've got many young players, and as we've all seen now, Libby's just left, and we had Saprit leave last year. So it's not only it's a good team to play for here at the Phoenix in New Zealand, but it's a good stepping stone for some young kids.
I'm glad you mentioned Libby, because he was actually the third signing that we forgot to mention, which is probably the biggest one. So there you go.
Libby Kakashi.
Yeah, some guy called Kakashi went somewhere. I didn't. Did you pick up on that?
Team of the season, I think, as well, Hydey. Yeah, well done. That's brilliant. We've done well there. Hey, we'll get into Libby in a second. The other point that I just wanted to jump on there, Roofs, and you've mentioned culture and then also style of play, and the style of play obviously comes from the coach. I haven't had much to do with him. You get the sense that he's very level-headed and even-handed. What is Ufu like as a person before we jump into the Phoenix's style? Because that's been a bit of a different story this year. So returning to him, the grey-haired wonder, Ufu Tale.
Yeah, he's, as you said, he's very level-headed, very calm, and he's very good. Yeah.
So what? He doesn't get too up, too down, or like how is he after a loss, for example? Because unfortunately, he had a couple of those towards the end of the season. So what was he like?
Look, I mean, everyone hates losing. I mean, as I just said, he does not like losing. Neither do we. And I think what's good though as well is the way he and also we react as a team. And I think throughout the season we had shown that. But yeah, as I said, very level-headed, very calm. Can get angry at times, but not really. But yeah, he's been very good this season, and I'm just really looking forward to working with him again. It's been a great season, and hopefully we can create history again.
You're again wonderful at those post-match interviews, mate. So you've hit all the cliches there, which is great. So we'll get into a bit more substance. The style of play, 4-2-2-2. It was what Ufuk played in Sydney. Did it take a little bit of adjusting to get used to? Because you've gone from a 3-5-2 the season before, and then traditionally kind of played a 4-3-3. In previous Phoenix teams, Uni Merrick had a little bit of variation, but there wasn't really too much. This system seemed to take a wee while to bed in. Your role in particular seemed to be quite important in that in the defensive midfield. So was it something that the team grasped, and was it something that you grasped individually quite quickly, or did it take a while?
I think the understanding, obviously, as a team is very, very important, but also the individual's understanding of each role. And as you said, it does take time, a completely new system to the 3-5-2 that we played with Mark last season. But we had a very good pre-season, and we were still adapting, still learning to his style of play. But I think also what we were also adapting to was the new players, and I think that's why it also took a little bit longer than maybe expected. Because obviously we had a lot of new players, a lot of new faces coming in, and that's I think that could be maybe why we didn't get those results after those performances early on in the season. But look, as I said, after a few games, which is what we needed, some good games on the bounce regularly, because obviously as well the Phoenix preseason can be quite difficult playing top opposition all the time. So I think once we played some good games earlier on, and then obviously got some of those out of the way, I think that's when it started to really click and gel, and that's when we got some results.
So you talked about new players coming in. I've got to ask, what was the feeling like in the camp when you found out you were signing Gary Hooper?
Ignore that, Alex. You don't really need to answer that if you don't want to. I mean, he's a massive Sheffield Wednesday fan. We unfortunately didn't get Hoops on. But yeah, no, let's hear it, mate. Like Gary Hooper, massive name.
Honestly, I was very excited, when I heard whispers, obviously a few weeks before it happened, and I thought, wow, like, geez, that no way, like what a player he is, and what a career he's had. And then obviously when he put pen to paper, obviously as a group we were very excited. We were buzzing to see what he could bring to the team, and I think we saw it straight away. Obviously he came in and he had a little bit of an injury, so it took him a bit of time to adjust. And but look, he was brilliant, and he was a massive player for us. So fingers crossed, we can hopefully get him back, and we'll see what happens.
What's the difference? Because we've got you've come up against National League strikers, having played for the Phoenix Reserves regularly, and you've played the likes of Ryan de Vries. There's Stephen Hoyle at Eastern Suburbs. Help me out here, Hydey. I'm trying to ramble through a couple of names that people will be familiar with. So the likes of Maya Bevan. Gary Hooper's played in the Premier League. He's played in the Scottish Premier League. So what is it that he does that's better or different from players that people might see locally?
To be perfectly honest, I mean, without being completely blunt or
be blunt, mate. We encourage bluntness on the pod.
He can score goals.
So I agree. He puts the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah. I've tried to explain this many times. Like there's lots of players that can do the hold up work and be in the right place and all that kind of stuff. But I think if you look at the difference between someone who plays in the Premier League, in the Champions League, or plays in lower leagues, it really is the amount of minutes between how many times they put the ball in the back of the net. And someone like Gary Hooper has, for 15 years, been consistently able to put the ball in the back of the net every kind of 1.5 games, which is unbelievable.
So what does it look like, Ruth? So if you've got the ball wide and it's going to Paney or Libby, and you've got Hoops charging through the middle, ball goes into the box, you're thinking 50-50 at least it's going to be a goal. Is that the mentality that you've got when Gary Hooper's playing?
Yeah, yes, it's that, but it's also, knowing that you can smash in a ball into him and he'll be able to live on it and bring it down, bring others into play. He's got amazing technique. He's smart and he's very strong, and he's actually quite quick as well off the mark. So I think that goal against Perth shocked a few people because he showed his pace, and he got him behind and scored. But as I said, just his ability to score goals and change games, is second to none, I think, as well. And as you said, he scored many goals now for his whole career, and he's done it at the highest level.
Probably speaking more about the midfield, having Steinman this year must have been a nice. I mean, a lot of Kiwis go overseas to try and get European experiences and learn off others, but to have someone from Werder Bremen come into the squad and learn maybe a few more tricks of the trade. Have you enjoyed having someone like that in the squad to kind of learn a few more things on as you develop your own craft?
Yeah, as you said, he's also come from an amazing football culture and an amazing club. So yeah, to learn off him has been good as well, and to play alongside him has been good. Very good player, strong, good on the ball. So yeah, he's been a very good signing for us, and I think having that competition in midfield has been good for all of us. It pushes us harder, and we all want to play. So it really makes you better, and it's been very good.
Speaking of those international players, is there some kind of initiation you Kiwi fellas take these guys through? I can imagine some poor crazy German guy down Courtney Place or something. What goes on to initiate these guys to the team?
At least a song.
Yeah, we won't go into what happens down on Courtney Place, but what we usually do is we make the new signings sing. So they have to sing a song.
And who was the best? And who was the best out of the group? Because you've had a couple of songs this year. So who was the standout? Both.
I'm going Bally. I'm going Ballies.
I reckon Bally holds a tune. Who's the best? Who was the worst? And we're going to hold you to this. We're not moving on until you give us a straight answer.
I need a guess from you, mate. You got to have a guess.
Oh, best. I reckon Hooper's got some pipes, mate. Hooper's
really?
Got to be confident.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Worst, I'm going early. All day, every day. I'm going early. Sees the Vila is the worst out of the bunch. I reckon he's gone for like a Michael Jackson.
I'm going Steinman's worst.
Oh, that's a good chat, actually. I reckon Early's gone for like a Michael Jackson, and he's got nowhere near it. I reckon that's probably what's happened. That's where my money's at.
All right, so bear with me on this because it was a while ago that the last person sang. So I'm trying remember, but I do remember Bawley's being quite good, quite funny. So that was, but in saying that, I don't think Hoops sung. I think he paid the fine, from what I remember.
Oh, he's probably got that much money, Spooners. He just flicks some money and says that I need to sing.
He's like, yeah.
I think the boys made double the fine for him, just to make it sting a bit.
I still don't reckon you've got anywhere near like making them uncomfortable if you've doubled the fine.
Nah.
So who was the worst? And I've had some shockers in my time. I personally can't hold a tune and have been accused of being tone deaf. But who was the worst? And Roofs, come on, man, you got to be honest here. We're all about honesty on the pod. Honesty and brutality. Off you go.
Oh, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. But the problem is, it was because it was so long ago. I can't actually remember.
Yeah, I can. So, what as Roof is thinking through it, what traditionally happens for those that aren't fully aware about how an initiation works is that you get to go through a verse and a chorus, and there's sometimes music. There's often no lyrics allowed because it's brilliant if someone just stalls and stuffs up halfway through. But what do we traditionally get? We usually get Wonderwall by Oasis as a massive favorite. The Gambler, there's been some horrific renditions of that. And then Country Road, for some reason, is always brought up. So we've got a spectrum of horrific white person music there. The best that I've had, though, in terms of being different was Ian Hogg. He did 50 Cent. And he actually downloaded an app so he could do the shotgun at the start of it. And he just went from strength to strength off the back of that. Roofs, I've filled for you, mate. You've now got to come back with an answer.
I think it may have been Ben Wayne, because as you said, I think he started quite poorly and it was very awkward, and he forgot the lyrics and started getting his phone out. And as you know, as you've been in many dressing rooms, so as you know, it only gets worse from there for him. So yeah, the poor guy struggled a little bit.
So speaking of one other tradition, and probably for you, more importantly, being a defensive midfielder and not getting on the score sheet as often as you should, the 0 goals nude run, is that something you've clocked up a few times for the Phoenix?
The 0 goal. Yeah, nah. To be perfectly
I guess maybe
honest,
this is the difference between professional football and what I'm now playing. I guess that might be it. But it's always been a tradition.
Rovers
always been a tradition. If you don't score, the nude run is on at the end of the season.
No, look, it is something that obviously I want to get out of the way, because you're right, I do need to start adding that to my game. But look, it's also one thing that I think I'm not overly too concerned about, because for the first few years of my time at the Phoenix, I didn't play much. So obviously, although I have been at the Phoenix for a while, it's still
he's definitely done a nude run. He's stalling Hydey. He's done a nude run. 100%.
Traditionally, it's a prize giving. So I hate to think what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe the next prize giving it could happen. So
can you try and get this? I mean, I'd hate to think that there's all these Kiwis out there playing football every Saturday and not realising that the Wellington Phoenix don't have a nude run. I mean, I think that would be a lot of support will drift away.
Well,
it doesn't matter how well you're playing, Rufer. If there's no nude run on the end of the year, people will not think you're part of the culture.
Well, now we might have to bring it in.
I've got a plan for you. Loan you out to Glenfield Rovers Bazzers, mate. Get your goal in for the season. You'll be fine.
It's got to be over 35. It won't work.
We'll put you in under Shane or Whittington Rufer, mate. You'll be fine. Hey, I just wanted to bring this back to Alex Rufer, because you've been kind enough to come on the podcast and chat to us about the season. We do want to talk about you, mate, because you started off and you, as you said, you were part of that initial bedding in period where it was a little bit difficult for the team. You then had an MCL injury. You've done wonderfully well to come back and contribute to the Phoenix this season following that injury. And then after lockdown, mate, you came back with a vengeance. You were not starting, but every time you got a cameo off the bench, you were coming up with really important, bringing the energy, and you're also showing that range of passing that you seem to have developed over the course of the season. So what was it like for you? And was there a difference in your game once you did come back?
Yeah, look, as you said, every time you come off the bench, you want to make an impact, and that's what I was trying to do every time. And look, it's very frustrating when you're not playing. It's obviously not not ideal and not an ideal scenario, being away from your family, especially as well, and not playing. But look, all that aside, I just wanted to do as best as I could for the team, and try to contribute with assists and things like that. But yeah, look, it's frustrating. But as I said earlier, it's good, it's healthy competition, and I think it brings the best out of you when you're under pressure and you're constantly on your toes. So as I said, I just wanted to do my best for the team and just to be the best I can be as well.
Do you feel that your game's improved over the course of the season under Ufuk and then in that competitive environment that you just touched on?
Yes, I do.
Good answer. That's exactly what we wanted, mate. Yeah, 2 words.
See, that was the blunt, honest answer.
So what is it, mate? Do you feel more confident, or is it something that you can touch on technically, that you've now got a range of passing that you potentially you didn't get asked to develop under previous coaches?
No, I think I've always had self-belief in my ability. I've always been confident. I think it's just the fact that over the last 2 seasons, especially, I've obviously played a lot more, and I've been able to, be more consistent in playing and also in my game. So I think the more games you play, the more comfortable you are out there, and the more things you start to see and things like that. So yeah, and as you said, like coming back from after the lockdown, obviously I wasn't a starting player, just coming back from injury, but I really, really tried to give my best to get back into the starting team. So yeah, maybe I was taking a few more risks or things like that, but I just thought at the end of the day, still have to do my best to help the team, and I feel I did that. So
yeah. So on that, mate, you've been used in a number of positions in the past. I think I've seen you play striker, for example, for the under-20s and the Phoenix's academy side. You then played more of an advanced midfield role, I think, under Merrick and then Rudan. You've been playing defensive midfielder, and it's been a bit of a different position under Tale, where your range of passing has definitely been asked. You've been asked to bring that to the fore. Is that more of a comfortable role for you compared to the roles that you were previously asked to play?
Yes. I'm very comfortable in there. I have got a good range of pass, and I like getting stuck in and things like that. But to be perfectly honest, I'm comfortable playing anywhere. I've been, over the last few years, as you said, I've played in a number of different positions, but each position I've played, I've always felt pretty comfortable. I've even played right back a few years back under Darije Kalazic, so that was quite fun. That was interesting, going from striker 1 year to right back the next. But
that's the Nick Hydey path, mate. You're replicating New Zealand football royalty here. You got the Nick Hydey striker to right back.
No,
yeah,
honestly,
not many people that get a golden boot 1 year and end up playing right back the next.
Yeah, no, as I said, honestly, I'm comfortable in any position that I play. But obviously, yeah, in midfield, I'm most comfortable, and I feel that's where I'm best. And yeah, I feel under Uffy, I've really improved this season, and I think I will keep improving under him. And I'm really looking forward to next season and the seasons beyond.
Is there a kind of a sense of frustration that kind of COVID came along for you guys, because the run of form up until that break was sensational, and
absolutely
the way the team
weren't they, Hydey?
Yeah, informed team. I mean, I sat in the crowd at Eden Park when you beat Melbourne City 1-0 and quite dominated the game. And I was sat there, and Melbourne City were a team that obviously high quality in the past. They've always been up there, and they've been a team that I guess the Phoenix had struggled to beat regularly. And at Eden Park, they actually parked the bus and kind of only went with the counter-attack. And I watched the game and thought, wow, the Phoenix have gained so much respect in Australia. If one of the top teams has come here, we've got 20-odd thousand in the crowd, and they've actually gone, we respect them so much, we're going to sit here and try and soak things up and hit them on the counter. And I just went, the whole thing has changed for me. So we're winning game after game, and then that COVID break comes. And after that, we just didn't quite. It was like we'd gone from the fifth gear down to kind of 2.5 to 3, and we just couldn't quite get out of the mud to get it going again. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, yes and no. I've got.
Mate, you go for broke, mate. You tell Hydey why he's wrong.
You look, yes and no. I think, as you said, we were in very good form before COVID. But the way I look at it is with the whole COVID situation is obviously it wasn't good, no, but we couldn't really control it. And we still had to just focus on what we could control. And once we knew we were playing again, That's what our only focus was on. I know there was a lot of obstacles and it was a lot different. We're away from family, we're out of our comfort zone and things like that, which it can be difficult. But look, the most important thing for us, and as you know, was the football games and the training. So that was our full focus. But look, as you said, yeah, I can agree with you in a little bit. Maybe after the return, there was some games maybe we weren't as good as pre-COVID, but I still believe as well there were many games we were very good. And there were games where maybe we didn't get the result we deserved. But in football, that happens. So, especially in the final against Perth in the quarterfinal, I felt we were a lot better than them. But we couldn't do the most important thing, and that was score a goal. So, football's a cruel game, and I think it definitely taught us a few lessons. But look, as I said, we just tried to focus on things we could control, and that was just to try and be as best as we could be on the come the most important day of the week, and that was the game.
Yeah, look, I mean, I hear you, Roos, and the one thing for me, and I shared in that optimism that you guys had, but having a look at this on reflection, the stats don't lie. So you accumulated 5 points after the restart from a possible 18. You lost 3 of the last 4 games. You did seem to generally run out of steam. So I'm wondering is there anything that you put your finger on in the group? Is there something that you guys felt? And look, it's not that was the reason, but I've been in teams and I've traveled in the past where you're just like, it's just dull. You just feel like it's not going to go your way. And in that way, it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'm wondering if there is something that happened while you guys were in Australia.
No, there wasn't. As you said, yes, we did lose, 3 in the last 4, but there was never once a point or a period in time where not only myself or the team, there was not one point in time where we did not think that we weren't going to make that grand final.
Love that, mate.
That's the belief in not only myself but the team. That's the belief we had. That was the goal. That was what we wanted, and to fall short was honestly heartbreaking. As you said, every loss leading into that final game, maybe it's not the most ideal preparation, but and people can look at it both ways. I look at it as well as it added some fuel to the fire. But in saying that, we fell short, but I think it's a good learning curve for us, and it's it's the 3rd time now that I've been at the since being at the Phoenix that we've been knocked out in the first round of the finals, and so hopefully in the next couple of years, it'll happen.
Just on that, mate.
I feel that maybe Alex, your professional approach to this is probably where your mindset's at, and you're mentally very, very tough. Whereas someone like me is now, as an ex-player, is overly emotional about these things and is yelling, "God damn it, just put the ball in the back of the net." And I think that's probably it. I agree with you. Jacob and I had this argument during those weeks on the podcast, and I was kind of like, the only difference is the ball is not going in the back of the net. And that really is the luck or the bounce of the ball that you say. The Phoenix did not play badly over that time. There's certainly the style of play was the same. We got the ball down the flanks. We looked dangerous. We created the chances. The only difference that seemed to be after the break was the goddamn ball wouldn't go in the back of the net. And
even penalties.
And it just, those types of things, I think, led to that feeling. When you're a professional player like yourself, you're absolutely right. We also discussed the fact that even after that, and you get to the Perth match, it's, hell, guys, we're only 3 games away from winning the whole thing.
Exactly.
Which is exactly the point. And you got yourself in that situation. But I guess the fans, like we are, go on those mazy runs and decide that the Phoenix should win every single match, be undefeated, and clean up all silverware if possible.
So does it fuel the fire for next season, mate? Because as you said, you'd gone on that wonderful run during the season with 9 games undefeated. You then head into the final series where even though you aren't picking up the points in games, you still feel like you're the better team and that you've got every chance to make that final. So is there, within the core of the team that is going to be there next season, a feeling that you can go and do not only one better, but you can go on and push for that grand final?
Of course. That's the goal, and yeah, it's not a nice feeling what we felt after that Perth game. It's the second time in 2 years now for a couple of us in that dressing room, and it's a feeling that we definitely do not want to feel again. But look, as I said, it's definitely left a burning fire inside of the team, and I'm really excited now for next season, and I really believe in what we can do, and I can see us doing very well again.
Well, there you go. That's what I want to hear for next season, mate. And look, the club's obviously in a difficult position at the moment. You guys as players are in difficult positions. I think looking at next season, we really hope that you do have a foundation to go on and be successful, whether it's in New Zealand or it's not. So, all the best with all of that. But let's finish off this episode of the podcast with our highlights of the season. So you, Hydey, and myself have picked out 3 highlights, and they could be anything. They could be goals, they could be moments, they could be consequences from the season. So I'm going to start off with Hydey, and you can run through your 3, Hyde, and Alex, feel free to jump in and criticize or heckle whenever.
Oh yeah, I guess highlight number 1 was actually being part of that crowd at Eden Park. It was a very large crowd, I think about 25k. The Phoenix win, the Phoenix play really well. I got to abuse VAR because I think they chalked Steinman's goal off. But generally, it was a fantastic match. It was a great goal as well. I think it was the one Hooper went down the sideline and crosses it to Ball, who slides in. And great day at the football, having a few beers with mates. And that would just, to me, summed up the fact that professional football in New Zealand was alive and well. A number of Kiwis on the park, and it was just brilliant. And I think that was where I was like, this season is going to, really be fantastic. And it was. 3rd place finish for the season was the highest we've ever had, and it shouldn't be forgotten in amongst everything else. So that was highlight number 1. Highlight number 2, I think the emergence of our Kiwi players, but more importantly in this case, Libby Kakachi has really kind of taken the opportunities, gone a lot further, and all of us will look forward to seeing how he progresses in Belgium, and hopefully that can go even further. And I guess lastly, no surprise, the signing of Gary Hooper to me was a highlight, not just for the fact that it's a player I've followed before and one of my ex-teams, but he brought something extra to the team, and it was awesome to see. And maybe if we had him fit on the field for the last few games, things might have been a little bit different too.
If you can get a shirt to Hoops, Roofs, you're going to make Hydey's absolute year, mate. So we'll try and provide some sort of charitable event to support Hydey.
I'm glad I'm seeing a charity, Spooners. That's awesome. Well done. If he wants to put his, if Hooper wants to put his fine money in there as well, I'll look after that for him. So,
so we've got going along and watching a decent game of football at Eden Park with the Phoenix win, the emergence of young New Zealand talent, and the pathway overseas. And then finally, some guy named Gary showing up and playing for the Hooper for a couple of games. Gary
absolutely.
Brilliant. All right. Well, that's Hydey's top 3. We're going to move on now to Roofs. So Roofs, I asked you this earlier in the day. You've had time to think about it, given that you've got nothing else to do in the world apart from play Call of Duty. What are your 3 highlights from the season?
So my first highlight for this season was beating Brisbane, our first win of the season. Coming back from the national team, we'd obviously had a few days of pretty hectic travel, and it was a very tough game. Tough travel, and obviously we had a bit of a tough run into that game, and after that game, that feeling in the dressing room was unbelievable. We felt so it was just an amazing feeling, and as you saw, we went on from there and did very well. Number 2 was, I have to agree with you there.
Refreshments after the game, Roofs?
Yeah. There was a couple. Number 2 was definitely Libby Kakachi. I have to say, just super wrapped for him, and over the moon that now he's he's got what he deserved. He's had an amazing season, or he's had an amazing 2 seasons. And yeah, as I said, he's been top class, and he deserves everything he gets. And number three for me would be re-signing for 3 years. Just over the moon over the moon to be a part of the club again for 3 more years, and very proud to put on the Ones Phoenix shirt, and I represent it with pride, and just feel very blessed to be a part of the family. So yeah.
Awesome.
So how many years will that be all up if you do another 3, Alex?
I think it's pushing 10.
Mate, you're getting into Duran numbers there.
Yeah, 10 or 10, maybe 11.
And I think, 10. the more exciting thing is that it's a young Kiwi coming through the process. And I think, you're probably not going to see it right now, but I'm sure in years to come, Alex, you can look back and see that you've actually provided a really good role model for young Kiwis. Probably a little bit too much info on your young shoulders at the moment, but when you get to my age, you can look at these things, and it's a sense of pride. You wear the shirt and you're representing the Phoenix, which is and obviously you represent the All Whites, but when you play for that long at the same club, there's you're part of the furniture, you're a pillar of the culture in the club, and I think that comes through. So Brett, to hear that you're 3 more years.
Let's make sure that we get you on the field next year, mate. That's something we need to do. So
the goal's coming.
Just coming back.
You can get up on that.
Can you give me some kind of signal just to say that's Otherwise, just fly me down. I'll do your nude run for you if you need it. I'll just cover for you until that goal comes.
Mate, I don't think you're 30.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fill up Hydey. Yep, absolutely.
I don't think there's going to be any chance of your 40-year-old rig being confused for Alex's professional body. So just looking
too much info, Spooners. Too much
info. Just looking at your second highlight there, Libby's move. So what was the feeling like in the changing room? Because off the back of Sarpreet last year, Libby's now moved overseas. Does the team get excited? Is there good energy in the room when that sort of story starts coming to light and it looks like it's going to happen?
Yeah, look, to be perfectly honest, I think a lot of us knew earlier on in the season, after, game after game, that he was just putting in, 10 out of 10 performances. I think a lot of us knew that it was only a matter of time before he was going to leave. So I think we just, we got on with it. But look, he as I said, he was fantastic, and he got everything he deserved. And yeah, we were all very, very happy for him. We were proud, I think now we obviously have to replace him now, which is the next step. But look, all the best for him, and he deserves it, and I really believe he's going to have a big career.
Well, there is somebody that is near and dear to the pod's heart, Dan Morgan, who I'm sure would love to play professional football back in the country. James Agary is also knocking around. So we do have options, and the great thing is both of them are Kiwis. So yeah, absolutely share in our congratulations to Libby. And look, it's weird, Roofs. The pod's audience is really more overseas than it is locally, isn't it, Hyde? It's one of those things that we seem to.
A lot of the Kiwis overseas enjoy having a little bit of knowledge of what's going on.
We're Flight of the Conchords stuff here. So I'll jump into my 3 as we wrap things up here. So I've got number 1.
Did Rufer get his 3 out? I thought he only got 2 out.
No, 3. I got 3.
Oh, you got 3. Sorry, mate.
I got his 3. So we went Libby is number 2. You went Brisbane Roar. The first win of the season, which kind of set the benchmark and gave us an indication as to what this Phoenix team were capable of. And then 3rd, signing for 3 years, laying the foundation for having a really strong Kiwi presence in the team, but also in the senior leadership group, which sounds fantastic from my end. So very quickly, my highlights, and look, there's a bit of a common theme running through here, so I'll knock off the obvious one at the start, and that is Libby's move. I think it's wonderful. It is a follow-up and a really, really direct one to Sarpreet's move to Bayern Munich last season. It is a great example of how Phoenix players and New Zealand players can start moving to decent competitions in Europe, which is obviously the pinnacle of world football. And it's starting to tread that pathway, and it's starting to make it very clear. Not only that, but it's a return on investment for someone like Rob Morrison, who's been supporting the club for such a long time. So he is starting to see some money coming back in off the back of investing in players, in particular young Kiwi players. So that's wonderful to see. So congratulations, boys. We've gone 3 from 3 across that. I think it's great for the game and it's great for Libby. So well done, young man. Number 2, young Kiwi talent. This is something that Hyde touched on as well. And it's young Kiwi talent being given an opportunity. And it's something, weirdly enough, that we've seen from Australian coaches. Ernie Merrick gave a chance to, for the likes of yourselves and Matt Redenton, Roofs. Mark Rudon last year, he started giving young Kiwis more and more chances as well. And then Ufuk Talay seems to have taken the baton and really run with it. So we've seen the likes of Tiarafai Hudson-Wehong and Tim Payne, potentially older Kiwi players, being given an opportunity to move from the ISPS under Premiership up into the A-League. And then the players that were already in the squad are banging in and around Wellington Phoenix. Sam Sutton, Callum Elliott, Callum McCowart also moved from the ISPS under Premiership. And then the Wayne train, who's been mentioned a couple of times, but Ben Wayne jumped up and got a couple of games off the bench. And then obviously he's just put the polish on Libby Kakache. I don't know, I haven't had any direct experience with it, but I imagine that Libby has really benefited from the consistency and the even-handedness that Ufuk Tale's management has brought to the team. So that for me is really exciting, Roos. I'm sure we've got players underneath that generation coming through. And I think the great thing is that we could see Callum McCowart move to a European side. As I understand it, he is currently in Europe. So there could be 3 players in 2 years that leave the Phoenix and go overseas, which is wonderful. And I'm sure we've got players coming through underneath. So that is fantastic. I don't think I can really sum up how proud I am of that, Hydey. I don't know if you want to jump in there and just kind of sprinkle some magic dust on that.
No, I'm happy you're proud. That's good.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, mate. That's a great contribution. The final thing is the recruitment. We seem to get the recruitment right. It was great. So Ulysses De Villa was a bit of a roll of the dice. Former Chelsea player, been playing in India of all places, and then he comes down to the Phoenix. There were question marks at the start of the season. He wasn't having any impact in the first 5 games. Big tick against his name. The next point is that we kept Stephen Taylor, who I understand had interest from other A-League clubs, and then rolling it out, Ball and Hooper, really strong recruitment from the UK. In combination with some Australian players that had pedigree and experience in the A-League and the likes of Piscopo and Cam Devlin. So if you look at that, that's 6 players that we either kept or we brought into the environment, and they all contributed throughout the course of the season that got us to the 3rd place. So that for me was a highlight. I think that sort of sustainability and the infrastructure.
De Villa, you forgot?
No, I mentioned it.
And also in goal.
Oh, De Villa. Sorry, not De Villa. Yeah,
De Villa, Marinovic.
Yeah, and Marinovic in goal.
No, we don't want to bring up current Wellington Phoenix goalkeepers, Alex. I mean, there's a former goalkeeper from Wellington Phoenix. He had a great contribution in the 3 games that he was involved in. So we'll leave that.
How many clean sheets were there, Spinners? Clean sheets?
You're cutting out there, mate. You're cutting out. I can't hear you.
Is it the same? Do you have to do a nude run if you don't keep any clean sheets?
Mate. Yeah. I think Steph has showed how valuable he is to the club. But yeah, absolutely right. I think he was always going to be a home run, though. So it was the ones that there were a little bit more uncertainty around. And yeah, again, Luke De Vere, a great contribution. But there's options there, which is fantastic. And Te Atawhai playing so well. So hopefully we do see more Kiwi players either stepping up from the ISPS under Premiership or coming through that academy system, which is fantastic. All right. I think that kind of brings us to the end. Ruth, any last messages about this season or what you guys are looking at doing for next season for the fans out there?
No, look, there's a little bit of uncertainty, obviously, on where and, on or what and how and, where we'll be playing, when. But look, one thing that, has been really impressive and one thing we really appreciate a lot is the amount of support and the fans that we've had throughout the season and that have been with us for many years. So I'd just like to say thank you very much to any Wellington Phoenix fans out there that are, listening in. And we can't stress enough how much you guys mean to us and how much we appreciate you guys. So thank you very much. And, hopefully we'll see you next season at Sky Stadium.
Good boy. You didn't get that one confused. Any last thoughts from you about the Wellington Phoenix this season?
Yeah, I've been stoked with the Phoenix season. I think not only is it the results based, but just the style of play and being able to say that that's our team and the way they play has been really cool to watch. And the last thing that's really impressed me is I can look forward to the next season of A-League football where Alex Rufer will score me a goal, and I'm just pleased that we've come to that agreement.
So am I.
Yeah, we were looking for the shush.
You can actually score more than one if you'd like. Just give me the first one. You can have the rest. It's all good.
I reckon the floodgates will open.
That's it. That's totally it.